Welcome to Socks Out Racing. Today we're going to be covering the iRacing Rookie MX5 class. For those of you that are starting to get into iRacing, or perhaps looking at getting iRacing, and you're a little unsure about this class, because you hear a little bit of everything. I mean, you hear people that say it's a complete madhouse. There's other people who say, it's a lot of fun. So I got a video today of a race that kind of embodies the good, the bad, and ugly of the MX5 rookie class. So let's get started, shall we? So here we have the beginning of the race. Best thing to do to stay out of mayhem, believe it or not, is just kind of pull to the side and let the field roar by. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's really just to prepare you for the first lap. So thankfully in this particular race, nothing crazy happened in the first turn. However, things start to go wrong kind of quick. There's two cars that get into it through the second corner, and you see the white car there on the infield, but he just kind of comes over and I'm stuck in the middle. And then through turn 3, you have your first big contact. The black car just kind of gets into the back of the blue and green, and now you have the white car going through turn 4 just dive bombing the red and blue. It's creating a second incident in a very short amount of time. It seems more like an obstacle course in the first lap. As we go down the back straight, again, another white car takes out a fellow competitor and puts both vehicles into the wall, and thankfully no one else gets collected. And as we go through the hairpin for the first time, 4 goes wide and gives it the position to 12. A big thing with the Rookie Series is watch out for the unpainted cars. Normally these show up as like a white gray with a black stripe. They're nothing but trouble. If you happen to see one and they're not causing trouble, chances are they're using trading paint and you're not. As we're kind of approaching the end, you see the 12 car make a nice dive there and get around. I think that's the 9 car. So lots of good racing up front and just proper good racing. And this is kind of the fun that you see in the MX5 rookie class once you kind of deviate from all the mayhem. So as we kind of wrap up lap 1, we realize that even though you give up spots in the beginning of the race, you more than likely will make them up relatively quickly due to the mayhem. So start at 10th, drop back to 12th, and starting at lap 2, I'm already back at 5th. So lap 2 seems to be going smoothly, all of us just single file through. And then there's that car. Again, it's another plain blank white car just sitting in the middle of the racing line. No reason, just sitting there. Thankfully we all kind of saw it. So as we come up to turn 4, number 9 actually brakes and goes a little bit too wide. So this leaves the inside wide open and I'm able to make an easy pass. And turn 4, I would have to say, is the most technical turn on this particular course. And it's also the most punishing because it does lead up to this long straight, and if you don't carry enough momentum through the corner, it's normally going to make you give up at least one position or a potential passing opportunity here in turn 5. Turn 5 tends to be one of the better spots to actually set up a pass because of it. So the 12 car is already starting to pull away from the rest of the field. He was definitely one of the quickest in qualifying. I can't remember if he was the fastest, but he's also very consistent, so it's allowed him to pull away as the rest of the cars back here are battling. Even though you're moving along through the race, there is the potential for things to occur with lapped traffic. For example, you have this guy who just comes right out and nearly caused an accident with number 4. Now let's just stop here. If you're coming out of the pits, be aware of your surroundings and don't try to interrupt the race. We were able to all get around him without any major incident. And the fact is he ran off after turn 2 anyway. See, there he goes. And I don't think he caused any more problems for people who were on the lead lap. here. 4 goes wide and then cuts to the inside and makes the pass. Now that's another really good passing opportunity area. It's kind of a funky corner, so there's a couple of different lines people can take to set up passes. Through the sweeper and through the last turn. This is another one of those, the exit is very crucial because you do have a nice long straight following it. As we all come down the front stretch, you'll see the 12 car just is still continuing to increase his lead. And look, there's number 5 taking a look to the inside, but 4 shuts the door and continues around through turn 1. This is a good spot to set up. As we come through turn 3, you can see me, I'm starting to look around, look for that pass as we go to turn 4. 4 runs wide. Speaking of which, he ends up losing a lot of ground at 5, and 5 just starts breathing down his neck. Five's looking to the inside, but in doing so, he puts the inside wide open, gives me an option to pass. So let's look at that a little bit closer. So he was riding the inside line, but he ended up going in too hot and locked up the front, which pushed him out. This gave me the opening to slide to the inside. So there we see it from the TV cam. Make sure when you make a pass like that, definitely don't go right back to the outside, because then you could end up causing a big wreck. That would just not be good. As we reach the halfway point of the race, this is where the tempo starts to change. So in the first part, it's more of jockeying for position, seeing what options there are, and figuring out your game plan. From the midpoint of the race on, you're still, if you can, look for a spot to gain here and there, but now tire management starts becoming an issue. So with that in mind, I decide to give him a little bit of a push and start putting some pressure on. Although one thing about putting pressure on other drivers is it tends to be a double-edged sword, or it can be. Because if you push too hard, you can burn out your tires, or worse, put yourself in an accident or another incident. On the better side though is it can get the guy in front of you to overdrive his tires, so it's kind of a delicate balance on where to push and where to back off. And typically you want to watch the driver in front of you and see where are their weak points, where are the spots that are likely to make that mistake, and that's where you want to apply the greatest amount of pressure. Not to put yourself into a risk, because definitely putting yourself at risk is not a wise decision. But if you can get him to run, to psych himself out, run a little bit wide from braking too late, leave that inside wide open, or to get a little throttle happy coming out of a corner and, lose some momentum coming out of a corner, those are always really good outcomes for applying pressure. So it almost becomes a balancing act for the chasing driver. So if you watch, I try to make sure I have a good run on him on these slow speed corners, because that's where he seems to be weakest. And this turn 4 is especially a good spot to really start to apply pressure coming out. So as you can see, I got alongside of him. As I pull alongside him, as we barrel down the back straight into turn 5, this is where applying pressure can either make or break you. So as you can see, I'm alongside of him, but I remembered taking this inside line, hoping he would overshoot, but he doesn't. So instead of trying to drive right behind him through the hairpin, I back off, take a safer route, and look, there goes another white car spinning off in the revolver. So maybe that's why they call it that. But just kind of going back to applying pressure, that's where that tire management piece comes in. Because if I had dove in and really used my tires to hold that inside line at speed, it would have been detrimental towards the end. So as we covered earlier, finding that balance on how to push, when to push, pull back is very important. And as we go into the last turn, here's what I was talking about overdriving the car. He put it into the gravel coming out of the last turn. I've seen this go several different ways, but in some cases, sometimes the cars get loose in the last turn, in the dirt, and then just come shooting across. So that's definitely one area you don't want to be close to the other driver, is when they might end up unintentionally swinging back after losing control of the car. Here I go, putting pressure again as we go into turn 4. But again, back off, because I don't want to follow his line into the turn, but I do want to get him a little nervous going in. So I ended up giving him, because of that, he got a little extra breathing room. But he is still feeling the pressure because I'm right there. And lo and behold, because I am playing it safe, 5 has been able to catch back up. However, my persistence did pay off, because 4 just ran off due to outbraking in the hairpin, which I figured was more of a matter of time than it was a matter of if. And see, since 4 did overdrive his car, he not only lost the position to me, but he also lost the position to the 5 car. And 5 takes a look to the inside, speaking of which, but he's unable to close it. I'll just call that my good graces on that point. 5 was definitely quick. I think the only thing holding him back was consistency. There's still 3 of us, all a mistake away from losing a position, or gaining a position, whatever the case may be. And this is one of those, it's better to play it safe moments. You have some guys who will just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and more times than not, especially at this level, you're going to lose. It's going to bite you. So again, at this point, there's really nothing to be gained. The leader is 10, 12 seconds ahead, and I've got 2 guys behind me. Granted, they're not breathing down my neck yet, but 5's definitely close enough to make an opportunity, potentially. Here's 5 taking a look for that inside again, but he's just too far back. And he almost paid for it there too, because he went off. And speaking of going off, 4 just went off the track again. Let's go take a look at that again. So this is where I was talking about applying pressure and the driver getting too haughty on the throttle. He gets on it, gasses it, but then he goes off. But he catches it and slowly pulls back on the track after making sure it's clear. This is a good practice. As any driver will tell you who's running any series, be mindful of your surroundings when you're coming back on track. We've all seen that one guy who just threw it in reverse, backed in the middle of the track, and it caused a huge wreck. Granted, this happens more frequently in oval racing, but it has been known to happen on the road courses as well. So this is the second to last lap, lap 9, and this is kind of where the defining moment for this particular race for me, because 5 pushes a little too hard trying to get that extra spot since he had nothing to lose, and he runs wide, kisses the wall, and gets back on track. Now, if this was early in the race, it wouldn't have been so much a detriment to the position, but it did keep him put him far enough back that he wouldn't be able to close the gap with the remaining laps. And as I mentioned earlier, the leader was still a good ways ahead. I think he was like 12 and a half, almost 13 seconds up by then. And just to give you an idea on what that looked like, we're coming down the back straight, and there he is going through the hairpin. So that concludes our video here of the Rookie MX5 class. If you have any questions or would like to see a few more of our tips and tricks to get through your rookie license as quickly and painlessly as possible, check out the link in the description below. Until next time, keep it between the lines.